The prisoner and the human. The room was cold. The walls were metal, and the air smelled like something old and forgotten. She opened her eyes slowly, her body aching, her wrists chained to the chair. Her name was Zayla, a warrior from the fallen Cyrene Empire. Her people had fought against the humans and lost. She looked around. No windows. Only a single door. The last thing she remembered was being captured during the final battle. Now she was here. Alone. Waiting. Afraid to show it. She had heard the stories. Humans were cruel. They tortured alien prisoners. They made them scream for mercy. She had promised herself she would not beg, not even if it killed her. A noise. The door hissed open. She sat up straight, eyes sharp, ready to face whatever monster came through. But the figure that entered was calm. Quiet. Human. He wore a plain uniform. No armor. No weapons. Only a metal tray in his hands. He placed it on the table in front of her. Food. Water. Zayla narrowed her eyes. A trick? Poison? The human looked at her but said nothing. He pulled a chair across from her and sat down, his back straight but his eyes tired. He looked sad. Eat, he said softly. She didn't move. Her chains rattled slightly. I won't hurt you, he added. Liar, she spat. You're human. He didn't flinch. Instead, he nodded. Yes, I am. She blinked. That was not the answer she expected. What do you want from me? She demanded. Nothing, he replied. Then why am I here? He paused. Maybe you're here because I asked them not to kill you. That made her heart race. Her breath caught in her throat. He could be lying. But something in his voice sounded honest. Why would you do that? She asked. He looked down at his hands. Because I'm tired of death. Silence filled the room. The lights above buzzed quietly. Zayla stared at the food again. Her stomach growled, but she refused to give in. You want information, she said. You think kindness will make me talk. The human shook his head. I don't need information. The war is over. You've already lost. Those words hurt more than she expected. Her fists clenched. Her people were proud, strong. To hear it spoken so coldly. Then kill me, she whispered. He looked up. His eyes met hers. And for a moment, something passed between them. Pain, maybe. Recognition. I don't kill people who are already broken, he said. Her lips trembled, but she held firm. You think I'm broken? I think you're tired, just like me. She hated how calm his voice was. How human he looked. Not a monster, not a beast, just a man. One with shadows under his eyes and a scar on his cheek that looked years old. What's your name? He asked. Why do you care? Because if we're going to sit here every day, I'd like to call you something other than alien prisoner. She didn't reply. The silence returned. He stood up, picked up the untouched tray, and walked to the door. Just before he stepped out, she said quietly, Zayla. He paused. I'm called Zayla, she repeated. He nodded. I'm Daniel. The door closed behind him. She sat alone again, still chained, still surrounded by cold metal. But something inside her had shifted. She had expected hate, pain, death. Instead, she got water, silence, a name. She didn't know what to make of this human, but one thing was certain, he was not what she expected, and that scared her more than anything. Broken pasts. The next morning, Zayla was already awake before the door opened. Her eyes were fixed on the cold steel wall. She hadn't slept much. Something about the human, Daniel, stayed in her mind. It bothered her. It confused her. When the door finally opened, she didn't flinch this time. Daniel stepped in again. Same calm face, same slow walk. This time he brought no tray, only a small folded blanket in his hand. He placed it gently on the table. "You were shivering last night," he said. She didn't reply, just stared at the blanket like it was a weapon. "If you don't want it, that's fine," he added and sat down. A long silence followed. "I was trained to resist pain," Zayla said suddenly, eyes still locked on the table. "No matter what you do, I won't break." "Good," Daniel replied. His voice held no threat. No challenge, just calm. "You're not curious why I said that?" she asked. He leaned back in the chair, his eyes soft. "I think you say things to test me, to see if I'll turn into the monster you expect." That made her go quiet. He was right, but she hated that he knew. "Why are you really here?" she asked. He didn't answer at first. Then he pulled out something from his pocket, a small flat object, worn and dirty, a photo. He slid it across the table. Zayla looked at it, confused. A human child smiled in the picture, a girl with curly hair, bright eyes. "My daughter," Daniel said softly. "Her name was Lily." "Was?" "She died, same day we lost our city to your people." A sharp silence hit the room like a knife. Zayla stared at the photo, then at Daniel. But his face didn't show hate. Only sadness. "So, this is revenge?" she asked. "No," he said. "If it was, you'd already be dead. Then why help me?" He looked at her for a long time, then he said something that made her chest tighten. "Because I don't want more ghosts." Zayla didn't know what to say. She wasn't ready for this. She had expected yelling, beatings, screaming. Not this quiet pain, not this human grief. She pushed the photo back to him. "I'm sorry," she said, barely above a whisper. He nodded, but didn't smile. War makes everyone sorry in the end. Suddenly, she felt something deep inside her stir. A feeling she didn't like. Guilt. She had lost people too. Her brother, her mother. All gone. Burned under human ships. But sitting here, across from this quiet man, the lines between enemy and victim began to blur. In the following days, things changed. Daniel returned again and again, sometimes with food, sometimes just to sit. They didn't talk much at first, but slowly, piece by piece, Zayla began to speak. She told him about her planet, the oceans that glowed at night, the floating mountains, the singing winds. He listened, and in return he told her about Earth, green forests, storms with music in the sky, and cities filled with laughter before the war. She laughed once, just a small one, and Daniel noticed. "You have a nice laugh," he said. "Don't get used to it," she replied quickly. But something was happening. Walls were falling. One night she couldn't sleep. Her dreams were filled with fire and screaming. Her squad, her commander, her friends, gone. She woke up shaking, sweating, breathing hard. The door opened. Daniel stood there. "Bad dreams?" he asked. She nodded without speaking. He stepped inside and sat on the floor, leaning against the wall. "Not too close. Not too far. I have them too," he said. "Every night." Zayla looked at him, surprised. "You don't seem haunted." He gave a tired smile. "That's because I don't show it. If I do, I might fall apart." For a moment they sat in silence. Two broken warriors. From two broken worlds. She whispered, "What did you see?" "Everything I loved. Turning to ash." Her eyes closed. She understood that pain. "Me too," she said. The next morning she noticed something strange. When Daniel walked in, he limped slightly. His hand trembled when he handed her the food. "You're injured," she said. He shrugged. "Old wound. It acts up sometimes." "You didn't get it in battle?" "No," he said. "Friendly fire. Someone panicked during a training drill. Wrong time, wrong place." She stared at him. "Your own people did that?" He nodded. "We're not perfect. Not heroes. Just survivors." Those words echoed inside her mind. Survivors. Maybe that's what they both were now. But that night everything shifted. She was taken from the room. Guards surrounded her. They didn't speak. They didn't look at her. They brought her to a dark hall. Inside, she saw human officers watching a screen. On it were her people. Alien ships moving, a planned rescue mission. They were using her as bait. She turned to the guards. "What is this?" They ignored her. Back in her room, Daniel came later than usual. His face was pale. "You knew," she said coldly. "What?" "They're using me to lure my people." He shook his head. "No, I didn't know, I swear." "Liar," she shouted. "You were the only one I trusted." He looked broken. "More than ever. Let me prove it," he said. "Just give me time." But trust once cracked is hard to hold. And for the first time since meeting him, she truly didn't know if Daniel was her enemy or her only hope. The silence between, Sayla sat alone in her cold room. Her wrists were no longer chained, but the weight she felt was heavier than any metal. She didn't touch the food tray Daniel had left. She didn't speak when he came. She didn't look at him. The silence between them had grown like a thick wall. For 3 days he still came, always at the same time, always with a quiet voice, always trying to explain. "I didn't know," he said again. "They kept me out of the meeting. I thought they were just holding you for questioning." But Zayla didn't respond. She didn't believe him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. On the 4th day, she broke the silence. "Why did you come back?" Daniel looked at her surprised. "Because I had to." "You had a choice." "Yes," he said softly. "I did." She turned to him now, her voice calm but sharp. "You could have walked away. You didn't. What are you hiding?" He sighed and leaned forward. His voice was lower this time. "I was part of something once. A mission. We took an alien village. They said the people there were soldiers hiding in plain sight." Zayla's eyes narrowed. She had heard stories like this, but they weren't soldiers, Daniel continued. They were families, farmers, children. Her breath caught. "I followed orders," he said. "We all did. I told myself it was war, but afterward, I found a doll in the rubble, burned, melted, and his voice broke. He didn't cry, but his pain filled the room. "So now," he said, "when I see someone like you locked away, treated like bait, I can't stay silent. Not again." Zayla looked at him for a long time. The truth in his voice shook something inside her. "If you mean what you say," she whispered, "prove it." That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He broke into a restricted section of the base using stolen codes. The cameras were easy to avoid. He had been a soldier once. He knew the blind spots. He slipped into the command room. Data logs, mission plans, and there it was. Operation Final Signal. His hands froze. They weren't just using Zayla as bait. They were planning to fake her escape, let her lead her people into a trap. Once her fleet arrived to rescue her, they would be wiped out by hidden planetary weapons. A full massacre. Daniel stared at the glowing screen. His hands shook with rage. She had been right all along. Next day, he returned to Zayla. She didn't expect him so early. "I need you to listen," he said. He placed a small data pad on the table and pressed play. She watched the screen. Human officers, their voices cold, clear. Let her think she's winning his trust. "Once she runs, we lock the skies and erase the incoming fleet." Her hands trembled. "They were going to use you," Daniel said. "They were going to kill your people while you watched." She looked at him, eyes wide. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because we still have time," he said. "I can get you out." She stood up now for the first time in days. Her voice was cold, full of fire. "You're asking me to trust you again." "I'm not asking," he said. "I'm begging." Together they began to plan. It wasn't easy. The base was locked down tight, but Daniel had spent years here. He knew the shifts, the codes. The places where no cameras reached, they would escape through the cargo tunnels, steal a scout ship, and Zayla would send a warning to her people before the trap closed. Every step was dangerous, one mistake, and they would both die. But something else was happening too. As they worked together, they began to talk more, not just about the mission, but about memories, about family, about regrets. Zayla spoke of her brother, who used to carve stories into stone, of her mother who sang lullabies during sandstorms. She had lost them both. Daniel listened, and for once he didn't try to fix anything, he just stayed. And when she asked about his limp, he told her, "I was trying to carry someone out of fire. He didn't make it. I almost didn't either." "You're not like the others," Zayla said. "Neither are you," he replied. For the first time, they smiled. But peace doesn't last long in war. Someone had seen Daniel entering the command room that night. Someone who didn't trust him, and someone who now had orders to watch his every move. On the final night, the plan was ready. "We move at midnight," Daniel whispered. "I've disabled 2 motion sensors. If we stay in the dark zones, we'll be clear." "What about weapons?" she asked. "Just this," he said, handing her a small blade. Quiet and fast. They walked through the tunnel together. Every sound felt too loud. Every second felt like a lifetime. Then, an alarm. Red lights flashed. Someone had triggered the breach signal. "Run!" Daniel shouted. They dashed forward. Guards. "We're already moving." Zayla turned, blade ready. But Daniel pulled her aside. "No killing," he said. "Not unless we have to." "They'll kill us," she replied. "Then we buy time." He took a stun baton from a wall and knocked down 2 guards before they could shoot. Blood rushed in her ears, but she followed him. Step by step, they reached the hangar. A ship waited. Daniel began the launch sequence. "You fly," he told her. "You're faster than me." "What about you?" "I'll hold them off. I'll cover your launch." "No." She grabbed his hand. "I won't leave you." "You have to," he said. "If you don't warn them, they'll die." Their eyes met. For a moment, everything stopped. "You changed me," she whispered. "You saved me first," he said. Then he pushed the door shut, and Zayla flew into the stars as Daniel faced the fire alone, the truth beneath fire. The stars looked different through the glass of the stolen scout ship. Zayla had flown in many ships before, but this one felt different. Not because of the controls, but because of the silence. Because Daniel wasn't with her. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her heart was chaos. Behind her, alarms blared from the human base. Red lights danced in the sky, warning other ships. She flew low, hiding in the planet's shadow, just like Daniel taught her. Every breath she took hurt. She should have felt free, but she didn't. In the command base, Daniel was running out of time. He had sealed the hangar doors behind Zayla, but the guards were already on him. He could hear their boots, their shouting, their weapons charging. He ducked into a service shaft, breathing hard, heart pounding. Pain burned in his side. He had been shot. Not deep, but enough to slow him. He didn't care. She got away. That was all that mattered. He had saved her. He had done something good. Back in the ship, Zayla opened the encrypted channel. She had to warn her people, had to stop the rescue fleet from walking into a trap. But there was a problem. The comms were locked, military locked. Human security codes. She tried everything Daniel had shown her, but nothing worked. "Come on," she whispered. "Don't do this. To me now." Then she remembered. Daniel had given her a data chip. Just before he shut the door, her fingers shook as she slid it into the port. A soft beep. Then, the screen lit up. Access granted. A message flashed. "If you're reading this, you made it good. Don't cry. Just fight. Warn them. Save them. And maybe, save me too." Zayla bit her lip hard. She wouldn't cry. Not now, not yet. She sent the warning, short and fast. Trap, do not enter orbit, retreat. Daniel helped. He stayed behind. Then she turned the ship back around. She wasn't leaving him. Not like this. Inside the base, Daniel had been caught. They dragged him through the halls like a criminal, blood on his shirt, cuffs on his wrists. His head hung low, but his eyes burned with fire. General Strath stood over him in the command room, tall, proud, and angry. You betrayed your own kind for a piece of alien trash? He growled. Daniel raised his head. She's not trash, she's more human than you. Strath slapped him hard. Where is she headed? The general demanded. Somewhere you'll never reach, Daniel said through clenched teeth. Strath turned to the guards. Interrogate him. I want the fleet's location before the hour ends. Daniel smiled. You're too late, he said. She's already warned them. Above, the planet. Zayla pushed the scout ship to its limits. She didn't know how many guards were left, or if Daniel was even alive, but she would find out, one way or another. Suddenly, her sensors flashed. Missile lock. They found her. She banked hard, dodging the first strike. Alarms screamed all around her. She spun the ship, dove low through the clouds, and fired back. Explosions lit the sky. But she was fast. Faster than they expected. She broke through the base defenses, diving toward the hangar. Meanwhile, Daniel was tied to a chair. An officer raised a shock rod. Last chance. Where is the alien fleet? Daniel's voice was weak, but steady. Go to hell. Before the officer could strike, a massive explosion rocked the room. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alarms began to scream. Someone had breached the hangar. Outside, Zayla landed the scout ship hard. Smoke and fire poured from the engines, but she didn't care. She jumped out, blade in hand, eyes wild. She moved like lightning. 2 guards tried to stop her. She stunned one and cut the other across the leg. Where is he? She shouted. No one answered. So she kept moving. Daniel heard the chaos. He lifted his head. He smiled. She came back. He whispered. The officer panicked and ran. Moments later, Zayla burst into the room. Blood on her arms, fire behind her. She looked at Daniel. Bloody, beaten but alive. The trial began at sunset. They brought her into the pit of echoes, a hollow dome beneath the council chamber. No weapons, no armor, only her body, only her truth. Inside the pit stood the trial beast, an ancient creature bred for centuries, covered in black plates, 6 limbs, no eyes. It hunted by sensing fear. The gate opened. Zayla stepped in. Her heart beat like thunder. The beast growled, low and deep. Then it lunged. She rolled to the side, barely missing its claws. It was fast, too fast. She ducked, dodged, dove, each movement closer to death. But she remembered Daniel's words. Stay calm, stay smart. It's not the strongest who survives. It's the one who refuses to give up. She climbed a pillar. The beast struck the stone, roaring. She jumped from above, landing. On its back, her fingers found a gap between the plates. She slammed her hand inside, grabbing a pressure node. The beast screamed and collapsed. The crowd above stood in stunned silence. The fire around the arena roared higher, and then the elder bell rang once. She had passed. Back in the chamber, Zayla stood taller than ever before. Now, she said, voice strong, I will ask for what I came for. Elder Marith stared at her. And what is that? A meeting with human peacekeepers. I want Daniel present. I want us to talk. Not fight, not lie, just talk. You want peace with those who burned our skies? No, she said. I want peace with the one who didn't. Silence. And then, Elder Zoran nodded once. Bring the human. That night, a ship was sent, and Daniel would be brought into the heart of his enemy's world, where one wrong word could cost him his life. And yet, he came, because she asked, the human who stood before the stars. The sky above Cyrene Prime was a sea of silver and blue, broken only by the quiet hum of the approaching human shuttle. It was small, unarmed, a sign of peace. But peace was a dangerous word. Inside the council chamber, everyone waited. Warriors stood still with hands on their weapons. Elders watched with eyes that had seen 100 battles, and at the center stood Zayla, her face calm but her hands shaking just slightly behind her back. She had asked them to bring Daniel. She had told them to listen. But she knew. One wrong move, one wrong word, and he would die before he could speak. The shuttle landed. The doors opened, and Daniel stepped out. His limp was heavier now, his face still marked with healing wounds. His clothes were plain, but his presence carried weight. He walked slowly toward the chamber, escorted by 2 alien guards. They didn't touch him, but their weapons were ready. As he entered the room, the energy shifted. He was not welcome here. He knew it, and still, he didn't bow, didn't break. He stood before the 12 elders like a man who had already faced death and come back with nothing to lose. Elder Marith was the first to speak. Daniel of Earth, you have crossed into our world by her request. You understand what this means? Yes, Daniel said. His voice was steady. You want to know if you should kill me or listen to me? A few warriors stirred. One hissed, but Daniel didn't flinch. I'm not here to beg, he continued. I'm here because she asked me to be, and because I believe something better is possible. Elder Zoran leaned forward. Better? Humans have burned planets, left our children in ash, and now you speak of better? I didn't come to deny what we've done, Daniel said. I came to admit it. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Even Zayla looked surprised. Yes, he said louder now. We started fires. We made monsters. We followed orders because we thought your people were animals. I did too. He looked down. But then I met one. He looked at Zayla, and she wasn't an animal. She was braver than any human soldier I've ever met. Smarter, stronger, and more loyal than anyone had a right to be. And when I had the chance to hurt her, I didn't. His voice cracked slightly, because I saw her cry in her sleep and I realized she wasn't my enemy. She was just like me. The elders were silent now. His words echoed in the stone. Elder Kale finally spoke. Words are soft human. Show us something harder, something real. Daniel nodded slowly. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small cracked object. A child's photo. Burned at the edges. He walked forward slowly, placed it on the stone floor, then stepped back. This is my daughter, Lily. She died when your forces attacked our city. Zayla's eyes widened. She had never seen this photo before. I hated you all after that, Daniel continued. I wanted revenge, wanted to kill every alien I saw. He pointed to Zayla. But she showed me something stronger than hate. He paused. Mercy. Elder Marith stared at the photo, then at Daniel. You have lost, and yet you speak not of war, but peace. Why? Daniel took a breath. Because no one wins a war like this, not really. We just keep bleeding until there's nothing left to bleed. He turned to Zayla. You saved me when you didn't have to. You came back for me when you could have left. He looked at the council. I'm not asking for your trust. I'm asking for a chance. Let her lead a bridge. Let others like her and me try to speak instead of shoot, that's all. A long silence followed. Then, something unexpected. Elder Zoran rose slowly and stepped forward. He picked up the photo. He studied it, then looked at Zayla. You asked us to listen, he said. We have. He turned to Daniel. And you gave us truth, not wrapped in pride, not buried in lies, but raw, broken, and real. Elder Marith stepped down from the circle. He approached Daniel directly. The room tensed. Warriors stepped forward, but Marith raised his hand. He looked into Daniel's eyes, then did something no one expected. He bowed. A slow, deep bow. Then let this day be remembered, Mareth said, as the day a human walked into the heart of Cyrene and did not bring war. Cheers didn't follow, but something better did. Silence. And a single, slow nod from every elder. Approval. Outside, the twin suns began to rise. Golden light washed over the ancient stone city. Zayla and Daniel stood side by side, looking out from the council steps. You could have died in there, she said softly. Yeah, he replied. But if I didn't come, maybe something worse would have. You changed everything, you know. No, he said. We did. She looked at him. And for the first time since the war began, her eyes filled with something strange. Hope. And somewhere, in the silence between two worlds, the stars shifted. Because peace, true peace, had taken its first breath. Not in a battlefield, but in the hearts of two enemies who chose to see each other as something more. You're insane, he said with a weak smile. You're bleeding, she replied. You came back. Of course I did. She cut his cuffs, helped him up, but the base was collapsing around them. Soldiers were retreating. The trap had failed. The alien fleet never came. They had won this round, but they had to run. They escaped through the side tunnels, barely dodging falling beams and broken power lines. When they reached the surface, the sky was lit with fire. But it wasn't the alien fleet. It was the human base, tearing itself apart. The operation had failed. The trap was exposed. And somewhere in that chaos, two survivors ran into the night. Not as enemies, but as something new. Hours later, on a quiet hill under strange stars, they sat by a small fire. Daniel's wounds were wrapped. Zayla was silent, watching the sky. Where do we go now? He asked. She didn't answer for a while, then she said, My people will come. Not to fight, not to kill. They will want to know why one human risked everything to save me. He looked at her. Do you trust me now? She turned to him. I trusted you when you stayed behind. Then for the first time she smiled. Between two worlds, the forest was quiet, but Zayla could feel the pressure in the air. It was like the trees themselves were holding their breath. They had taken shelter in an old human outpost, half buried in the hills. Daniel was still healing. His side was wrapped, and he limped more than usual, but he was alive. And every time Zayla looked at him, she remembered why. He had stayed behind. He had faced death. For her. 3 days had passed since the escape. The human base had gone silent, either abandoned or destroyed. No patrols had come, no scanners, nothing. But Zayla knew it wouldn't last. Her people would come soon. She had sent a second message, encrypted, clear, and emotional. I am safe. One human saved me. Do not attack. Do not fear. Come in peace. She didn't know if her leaders would listen, but they were coming. And when they arrived, they would want answers. Daniel sat outside under the stars, staring at the sky. I used to think stars were beautiful, he said quietly. Now I see them, and all I think about is who might be watching. Zayla sat beside him. She didn't speak at first. Then she said, You still don't trust my people, do you? I don't trust anyone anymore, he replied. Except maybe you. That silence returned. But this time it wasn't heavy, it was warm. She looked at him, the lines on his face, the tired eyes, the steady heart. They won't understand why I chose to come back for you, she said. Your people. Yes. Then let me talk to them. They might kill you on sight. I'll take that chance. The next day the sky broke, not with thunder, with ships, sleek, silent, silver blue like moonlight. They came in a slow descent, no weapons drawn, no signals of war. They had heard her message. Zayla stood in the clearing, heart pounding. Behind her, Daniel stood as tall as he could. The ship doors opened, and from the light stepped High Commander Syra, a tall female with silver eyes and tattoos. carved down her throat. Behind her, 6 guards followed. They did not look pleased. They looked ready for war. "Zyla," Syra said coldly. "You live." "I do," she replied. "You escaped captivity." "Yes, with help." Syra's eyes turned to Daniel. Her jaw tightened. "That is the human?" "Yes." "Why is he breathing?" Zyla stepped forward. "Because he saved me." Or, used you?" "No, he risked his life to stop a trap. The humans wanted to kill all of you. He warned me. He helped me escape." Syra's face didn't change. "Do you believe this is peace?" "I believe it can be." Syra stepped closer. "You are young, and you are blind." Daniel stepped forward now, ignoring the guards who raised their weapons. "I don't want to fight," he said. "I know what I am. I know what we've done, but I'm not your enemy." Syra narrowed her eyes. "Humans killed my sister in a colony fire. She burned with children in her arms. Do you carry that pain?" "No," Daniel said, "but I carry my own. I lost my daughter when your soldiers destroyed New Baltimore. She was 6. The air froze. The guards lowered their weapons. Syra stared at him. "For a long time. You speak like a warrior," she said, "but also like a father." "I speak like someone who's tired," Daniel replied. "Tired of burning. Tired of running. Tired of hate." Zyla stepped between them. "Enough blood. Enough fire. If we keep killing, no one will be left." Syra looked at her. "You've changed." "Yes," Zyla said. "And maybe that's what we need." A long silence followed. Then Syra turned to her guards. "Scan him. Test his truth." One of them stepped forward with a memory reader, an alien device that scanned the mind's recent patterns. Not words, not images, just emotion and energy. They placed it gently on Daniel's temple. Light pulsed, then faded. The guard looked at Syra. "He speaks no lies." The High Commander gave a slow nod. Then, to Zyla, she said, "You've chosen to stand beside him." "Yes." "Then you will carry that choice into the council." Zayla's eyes widened. "They'll exile me." "Maybe," Syra replied. "Or maybe they'll listen." That night, Zyla and Daniel stood at the edge of the field. The alien ships glowed in the distance. Her people were camped watching the stars, and Daniel stood alone, the only human in sight. "What happens now?" he asked. "They take me home, they ask questions, they test me, they try to break me. And if they do, then they'll see what you already saw in me." He smiled weakly. "What's that?" "Someone who can't be broken." She touched his hand. "You changed me, Daniel. Not with force, not with lies, with silence, with truth." He looked at her, eyes full of things he couldn't say. "I don't know if I'll ever see you again," he said. "You will," she replied. "But next time, it will. Be on my ship," he laughed. "Hope your chairs are more comfortable." She leaned in, close enough that her voice was almost a whisper. "Next time, you won't be a prisoner." She walked away then, toward her people, toward judgment. And Daniel watched her go alone again, but this time, not empty. The Council of Knives, Zyla stood at the center of the great chamber, her hands open, her head held high. The room was carved from stone that pulsed softly, alive with energy. Ancient, holy. This was the heart of her people, the high council chamber on Cyrene Prime. It was where leaders were made and where traitors were broken. 12 council elders surrounded her in a wide circle, their eyes glowing blue beneath ceremonial veils. Behind them, rows of silent warriors stood like statues. The air was still. Too still. No warmth. No welcome. Only judgment. And above all, silence. Then the voice of Elder Marith broke the stillness. Deep, slow, cold. "You stand before us not as a warrior of the Cyrene, but as one who escaped the enemy and returned with poison in your blood." Zyla didn't flinch. The poison, she said, is not in me. It's in the war, in the lies we've been fed, in the hate we carry without question. Elder Zoran leaned forward. And who gave you this sudden wisdom? A human? Yes, she replied without shame. A human, named Daniel. He saved my life. A murmur spread through the chamber. Elder Kale rose from his seat. You defend the same species that burned our ocean cities, that bombed our singing towers, that shattered the twin moons. Zayla met his gaze. Yes. And I lost people too. My brother, my mother, my world changed. But Daniel, he lost everything, too. And still, he chose mercy. He chose to help me escape. Elder Marith slammed his staff on the stone floor. Then you admit it, he growled. You allowed the enemy into your heart. You betrayed the blood. No, she said. I honored it. Daniel warned me of a human trap, a plan to wipe out our rescue fleet. He risked his life to stop it. Without him, hundreds of our warriors would be dead. Elder Zoran stepped closer now, his voice softer but more dangerous. Or perhaps it was all part of their plan. Make us lower our guard, send you back as a puppet, fill our minds with pity, and then strike. I am not a puppet, Zayla shouted. I chose to come back. I chose to speak the truth. Truth, Elder Keel sneered. Truth from the mouth of the enemy. A different voice rang out now. Commander Sira. She stood at the edge of the chamber watching silently until now. The memory scan of the human confirms her story, she said. I witnessed the raw data myself. His pain was real. His loyalty was not to his commanders, but to her. Elder Marith turned toward Syra, his tone sharp. And you trust this data? This human technology? No, Syra replied. I trust her. The room went dead silent. Zayla looked at her former commander, heart tight. Syra had not offered her support before. This was the first time, but it was not enough. Not here. Elder Zoran turned toward the center of the circle. The blood oath demands a test. We cannot decide her fate with words alone. The flame of judgment must choose. Zayla felt her chest tighten. The flame of judgment was not just ritual. It was brutal. Real. One warrior. One test. Pass. And you are redeemed. Fail. And you are erased from the history of your people. I will take the trial, she said. Elder Keel smirked. You may not survive it. I survived humans. I'll survive this.